Okay, folks, it is time for the Bob Ryan versus Kevin Durant. Oh no, sorry, I'm just kidding. I just couldn't resist. But this is the Ryan Goodman 10 Way Along for the Ride podcast, driven by our partners at Athletic Greens. AG1, man, get healthy. 75 high quality vitamins. More on those two wonderful products and the services coming up. Okay, Bob. We all know that you were back on the front page again. Bob Ryan was back, upset with Kevin Durant. What type of fallout did you receive? Because Jeff and I were seeing you everywhere, including the New York Post. How did you experience your criticism of Durant?
I saw one tweet someday, the next day or whatever. And then I saw a reference to the Post. I did not see that reference. And I made up my mind. First of all, the overreaction is preposterous. And the idea that any writer or any of us in the media would be above speaking our honest feeling about somebody by using a naughty word. All right. And this 2022 is ludicrous. It's idiotic. So I just said to myself, I'm not getting involved in this. I'm not fanning this flame. I'm not responding. I have launched a personal Twitter boycott. I have not looked at Twitter in a week. I will not look at Twitter for another week, at least until I come back from Maine when I return next Friday and then get back into the real world. I'm ignoring it. I know how these things go, and I don't want to get involved anymore. There's no point in me getting involved in this, which is so stupid. And the only thing, so I'm not fanning any flames. I got nothing. I said it. I'm not backing down.
All right, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you at all regret using that word? Because thinking about it, and again, I've known Kevin for a long time. So I almost felt like I was caught in the middle of it. And I know, and I've said it, Kevin has changed. He's not the same kid I knew. He's not the same guy I knew when he left for even Golden State. But I don't know. I mean, the word you use with him, I thought might have been going a little bit harsh on
his behavior lately falls in that category, in my opinion. And I think any thinking person knows that follows basketball. His disgraceful behavior, assuming it's true, and there's no denials that it's not true, that he tried.
What are you more? Is it more about the fact that he basically, by all reports and accounts, that he said, either it's me or Steve Nash and Sean Marks? Is that more of what you're upset about than anything else?
That's not enough.
Okay. I just didn't know if it was more.
And then the whole, he's never gotten over the fallout from going to Golden State and the public fallout. And he's never gotten over it. And apparently he never will get over it. And we don't need the drama that he now brings to a situation with this team, as it's presently constructed, on the verge of doing something really good. They don't need him. And so
you're in the majority. The people I've talked to over the last week, I went out last night, met a bunch of guys for the first half of the football game, talking to them a little bit about it. And most people side with you in terms of they would rather stick with what they have and stick with Jaylen Brown rather than taking a shot with KD.
I admit to foolish naivete here in 2022 to think that having said that it would have that kind of repercussion, that many people would think.
Really?
I admit to naivete. I still can't. I never cease to be amazed by the.
It's because it's you, Bob. It's not. If it had been somebody else, it would be different. For people to hear that word out of your mouth.
What am I, a saint?
Yes,
well, kind of. I mean, you kind of are.
Yes.
But I mean, I'm human, and I speak like that.
If I may interject for a moment, one of the good things about the way media has evolved is that you can be human. I mean, you can be. I mean, if you're on, Comcast Sportsnet or Sports Final, you can't say that. But I think that because of the mediums that we use, people can be human and people can use real language. And I think it's great. And Bob, you're a Hall of Famer. I mean, listen,
I know, but
the reason people watch this, and it's certainly not because of me, And Jeff is certainly plugged in with his information, but they watch this because of you. And what I do think it illustrates, and we can move on from this, is that till the day you take your last breath, Bob Ryan, when he speaks about basketball, the world listens. That's just the way it is.
All right. Well, okay.
And then we can move on. But I have one question for Jeff. Though. Jeff, did you talk to basketball insiders at all about this? I mean, how does the basketball world feel? Because I do know that you're plugged in more than Bob.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I talked to a few people that felt like it was a little bit over what should have been said. I think they felt like the connotation of the word was a little harsh for a guy, again, who certainly has done some things that we all scratch our head at, no doubt.
What do they think about the deal? Would they do the deal?
Oh, okay. Would they do the deal? I actually talked to one high-level executive maybe 2 or 3 days ago, and he was like, I would do it in a heartbeat if I was the Celtics and get KD in a heartbeat.
Interesting.
In a heartbeat.
Okay. All right. Well, let's put it to bed.
I think it's split. Yeah, I think it's split.
Yeah. I mean, let's put it to bed, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. But Bob, we love you. All right. Now let's move on to another thing. Now, the Donovan Mitchell trade to Cleveland, which I mean, just makes the East even more competitive and more exciting to watch. Lauri Markkanen goes. Colin Sexton, he gets a big deal out of that. A bunch of picks.
Ochai Agbaji too.
Yes, thank you.
Was big for Ainge. Good young player out of Kansas.
Okay, so Jeff, this is your neck of the woods here with these young guys. Who won this deal?
Both teams. Danny Ainge accomplished what he wanted to accomplish and got some young players and some picks and tradable assets. I expect him to move off Colin Sexton within a year. You know, he just signed an extension, I think, but he's got a fairly reasonable contract that can be moved. Ochai is a really good young player, Markkanen, skilled forward, young enough. You can move him. And I love Cleveland, what they did. Kobe Altman and Mike Ansley, who are running the Cavs, who took over a complete shit show when they got that organization.
Ooh, be
and
careful.
Nobody thought they would survive. I know. I know.
Whoa.
A little profanity.
Oh, Jeff Goodman used the naughty
I got to keep up with you.
Oh, my God.
I got to keep up with Bob Ryan.
Profanity police. Bob, if you went to Boston College, you can't swear.
Actually, that word came into vogue, you know, on CNN, the commentator, the female, after the vice presidential debate, and she called it a S show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dana Bash, she'll take that to her grave. I know that. Okay.
I love that word.
I have a question. Okay. My question on this is, there was a big commotion in New York and the New York papers about the Knicks blew it, quote unquote, or whatever.
Right.
All right, what was the Knicks? And what is your overview on the Knicks' chances of getting Donovan Mitchell? And did they, in fact, quote unquote, blow it?
Yeah, they blew it. Of course they blew it. They should have had him. I mean, again, we've talked about this. Leon Rose was running CAA. Donovan Mitchell's agent is Ty Sullivan, who's from Boston, by the way, who works for who? CAA. His boss was Leon Rose. This was all lined up for the Knicks. But I think ultimately at the end of the deal here, like, Leon Rose did not want to be fleeced by Danny Ainge. And Danny Ainge's reputation now precedes him. And people are scared to deal with him because he's been on the advantage of so many deals. You don't want to, if you're dealing with him, you don't want to give too much. And the Knicks got better with Brunson. This would have taken him to a different level. And I just feel like, they now know what Julius Randle is. They just signed RJ Barrett to a huge deal. And I like RJ Barrett. I don't love him. He's not a great shooter. I like him. I don't know if he's good enough. Like, Brunson and Barrett as your 1 and 2 are not good enough to be anything better than like a 6, 7, 8 seed in the East. So I like the trade for Cleveland, Bob. I think Cleveland now becomes a fun team to. I mean, think about what they have now. Their backcourt is Garland and Donovan Mitchell. That's 2 all-stars right there.
Yeah.
Evan Mobley is a potential all-star. Karis LeVert is still working his way back from the injury, but he doesn't have to be the old Karis LeVert. And Jared Allen is perfect with all those guys around him. Like, this is a really, really good Cleveland team. And I'm telling you, like, they're going to be fun to watch. They have a chance to get in that, like, top 4 of these this year. Have a chance.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it. And Mitchell, his numbers are indisputable.
He's not a one. He's not a one who can carry a team to an NBA title, but he's a one who can carry with Garland, who can carry a team to the Eastern Conference semifinals.
Yeah. No, he can go out and get 30 any night. I mean, he's that kind of guy. He is that kind of guy. All right. So but you're comfortable with Utah's direction. They basically, Utah, who never assembled, their window, such as it was never open very much, but it's shut for the foreseeable future. Shut. And by the time Danny Ainge, it's going to be similar to Boston, I think. By the time the franchise gets going, Danny Ainge is going to be gone from Utah. He's going to be golfing full time by the time all his picks come to fruition and all these young guys that he ends up getting. And maybe he'll go the other route. Maybe he'll trade some of these picks for established players who could be happy in Utah. But I think ultimately, he's playing this year to tank and try to get Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson or Nick Smith or one of these guys. The top of this draft, Bob, is sensational. Not good. It's really, really good with 3 or 4 guys that all might have been the number 1 pick in last year's draft. And you made a quick allusion to Agbai, but for people who don't realize what he might be, he could be a real, a real gem down the road.
He's going to be a good player. He's marketing solid, and again, you can move Sexton. So, like, they're going to stink this year, and Danny Ainge, again, I think he knew Donovan Mitchell was not going to be happy there. Yeah. So he was gonna at some point demand a trade. So why not get ahead of it before his trade value gets lower and lower and you have no leverage? You might as well do it now.
That makes perfect sense. Okay. All right. Good.
We're going to talk about Gallinari coming up, but first I got to tell you that our partners at BetOnline, Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens. What is the deal with AG1? You're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source ingredients, probiotics, and you can start your day right. The special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, aging, all of these things. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you're into paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while you can still taste very good food. It costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with a convenient daily nutrition. 1 scoop and a cup of water every day, that's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/hoops. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/hoops to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Okay, so Gallinari goes down originally playing this summer, and they think it's no big deal, right? Okay, he's going to be okay maybe by November. Well, then we learn there's more bad news. He has a torn left ACL, so he's pretty much going to be gone for the season. Bob, what does this mean for the Celtics?
Well, it's a disappointment, but it's not a critical catastrophe necessarily for 2 reasons. One is highly speculative. They think perhaps that they have an internal solution, and that would be Sam Hauser. I don't know how Jeff feels about Sam. We're going to find out. I'm not sure myself.
Yes, we are.
Oh, yeah, we are. Okay. But B, there are names out there. One of whom, if you had said to me 2 years ago, what do you think about getting Carmelo Anthony? I would have used an S word.
Yes, you would have.
Okay. I would no longer feel that way. He has been sufficiently humbled. He has proven that he can adapt to the circumstance. I wouldn't be averse, if that's the path they chose, to bringing him in with the understanding of what his role is going to be and that he would accommodate himself to that with this group of fine players that I think he would respect. That's what I think. Now, there's another name out there, LaMarcus Aldridge. I don't know how you feel about him at this stage of his career, and there might be another name. There's possible solutions out there, and we'll see what happens. I would have liked to have had Gallinari, but even then, it was all iffy. People were saying, if he's got something left in the tank, he can't guard anyway. I mean, it wasn't like it was the biggest, it was that important. The important acquisition of the offseason was Malcolm Brogdon.
Yes,
and Gallinari was dessert. So that's my take.
I'm gonna push back a little bit and say I think it's more important than you're saying. Now, it may depend on who else they bring in, like you said. But Sam Hauser is not Gallinari. I don't know how many threes he's made in his NBA career, but it is not very many compared to Gallinari and what.
Well, of course,
and that's the thing is like it was like Grant Williams last year. Nobody respected him shooting the ball. Every three he shot was uncontested. That it'll be the same thing with Hauser until he proves he can make them. But with Gallo, it was whether he's making them or not, you had to respect him. Yeah. You had to push up on him, which in turn helps Tatum, Jaylen Brown have more space to operate. I do think this is going to be significant, especially if Brogdon doesn't shoot the ball like we think he's capable, right? Like he's a good shooter, but he didn't shoot the ball well last year. He's got to get back to being a high 30s three-point shooter, and then he can help spread the court and create that spacing, and Grant, let's see if he can do it again.
Yeah.
Like it could be a 1-year deal here where people start guarding him a little bit more on the perimeter, and he's not shooting what he shoot last year, 40% from three.
Oh, he was, yeah. I mean, God,
right?
But whatever he shot, and 80% of that 40% was from that spot in the corner.
Yes.
And, people can easily take that away if they want. Obviously they can. So that'll be interesting. All right. No, I would have liked to have had Gallinari. I was curious, but I was more curious than anything else. I wasn't sure. None of us were sure about it because of the age and wear and tear and all. But I'm almost hoping it's just for the hell of it.
Carmelo,
absolutely.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but
I'm with you.
And once upon a time, I subscribed to the old leopards can't change their spots theory but this leopard, I think he did change.
You know what it is? Here's what it is with Carmelo. I don't know him like super well, but I know enough people who know him well. And I actually broke his commitment years ago from Fenway Park. I was covering a Red Sox game. And before the game, sitting up in the stands, breaking Carmelo to Syracuse. Nobody else in the stands at that point. But Carmelo is actually, when you talk to him and you're around him, he's super likable.
Yes, what I'm told.
Like nobody really says about, the problem with Carmelo was he was a black hole when he was the star and he never guarded anybody. But now, hey, Carmelo, go out there for 12 or 15 minutes. And you know what? We need you to make shots. And we need you to be a weapon.
And you get praised. You get rewarded for, you get
you can win a title.
You get respected, you're oh my God, no, it would be an interesting circumstance. I'm officially lobbying for it now.
Yeah, I wonder I think it makes it better. I think it makes it better. There's no doubt.
It'll be interesting to see if Brad will do it. I don't think Carmelo's like a tough locker room guy at all. And Ime's proven he can handle locker rooms already and, figure things out. So I agree. I would go. LaMarcus Aldridge makes no sense to me. I mean, I guess he does. I guess he does as another big.
Yeah.
But right now, my bigger issue would be finding another guy who can make shots.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whether they're making them or not, teams have to guard him. They have to respect him. Right. And that's where Sam Hauser does nothing for me in that regard. And I like Sam. I like him. Sure. Great kid. Can shoot the ball. Has size. All of it. But no matter what Sam Hauser does, nobody's going to guard him. Like he can make his threes, but we don't have any confidence in the NBA that Sam Hauser is going to be able to make him consistently.
No, we don't. It's okay. That's fair enough.
I'm going to tee this up for Bob. This is where Jeff and I sit back and watch and admire the Hall of Fame class here, ladies. Let me run it down here. Manu Ginobili, Tim Hardaway, Bob Huggins, George Karl, Swin Cash, Lindsey Whalen, Marion Stanley, Hugh Evans, the ref, Let me know if I've forgotten anybody, if there's a Veterans Committee member or something.
Inman Jackson, who is credited with creating the magic circle for the Globetrotters, was his idea, supposedly.
Okay.
And Runt Pollen, I do not know anything about. Okay, so I know nothing, zero. I'm learning.
What's his name? What is the name?
Runt, R-U-N-T is his, I guess, I don't think that's on his birth certificate, but that's how he was known.
I hope not.
I guess he was like 5'7" or 5'8". He was a 20s player for the Trotters, okay? So I don't know anything about him. I just saw that thing there. Okay, let's start with the best player, the one that I would have voted for were I on the committee, and that is Ginobili. He's one of my handful of favorite players of the last 25 years. He is, along with Paul Pierce, I said, are the two players of their time who I can see projected back into the 50s, playing the game of the 50s as well as the game of the 2000s, because they both had moves, counter moves. They could draw fouls. I remember one time about Pierce, I said he bamboozled his way to 30 points. And Ginobili was the same kind of player. Plus, throw in the fact that they both could make threes. Ginobili was just a wonderful basketball player, period. I mean, a no doubt, no brainer. And of course, a champion, multi-champion in Europe and in America, a no brainer, unanimous choice, blah, blah, blah. No, he walks into the Hall of Fame.
Well, he Euro steps in. You mean he Euro steps in? He
Euro steps in. All right. Yes. Okay. Right. But that's hardly the only thing good about him. Okay. So that's a no-brainer. Now we get to the older guys that came in by the various committees that have been overlooked.
No. Can we go to? Well, I want to know if you think Tim Hardaway should be in.
No, I wouldn't have voted for Tim Hardaway.
Me either.
He's in the Hall of Very Good for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Nor would I have voted for Lou Hudson. But let me tell you about Lou Hudson. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I'm really willing to admit I'm wrong about Hudson than I am about Hardaway, all right, if I'm wrong. Lou Hudson, now I'm going to just say, what if I told you there was a guy who had a 13-year career, averaged 20 points a game for his career, and had the following 7-year run of scoring in the middle of his career: 22, 25, 27, 25, 27, 25, and 22. You said that's a pretty goddamn good player, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
He was a pretty good player, but somehow his reputation was he wasn't a clutch player, even though with all those points, they were harmless points, or if you will, And anyway,
did he win anything? Win anything?
Atlanta, right?
Yeah, but they didn't win anything.
They didn't win anything.
He didn't win anything. He was
empty numbers. He was an empty numbers guy.
Yeah, that's what I think. And I don't think I think I wouldn't have voted for him. Now Hardaway is an interesting case. I have to think about this. The numbers for people who don't know is that he averaged 17 points a game and 8 assists for his career. He averaged over 25 times. He was a first team All-Star once and a second team All-Star 3 times. And he's got a cachet. He goes down in history for having one of the great moves in NBA history, the crossover. And that he's attached along with Iverson. Those two guys get attached to the crossover dribble more than anybody, I think, in history of the game. That's a nice little thing to have used to. And let me just tell you about him. Oh, funny thing. There was a writer who saw him play in the college prep, which was in Orlando in those days. The preseason, and they all went. And had not seen him play before, and came away after watching his weird rotation on his jump shot. He had a very weird rotation. And he said that he had a quote unquote motherless child of a jump shot. That, who that was? That was me.
You. Of course it was you.
That was my introduction to the world for him. He has a motherless child of a jump shot. But that motherless child went in quite a bit. Now, Don Nelson, after he coached him for a year or two, said, because of Tim Hardaway, I will never want to be without a great point guard, a quality point guard again. He said he reminded me of what you need to have as a point guard. So maybe I would have, I don't know, would have been borderline. So that's the case. That's there. Now, one other guy I want to talk about quickly is Larry Costello. Now, Larry Costello is one of those people that we have in particularly in baseball and basketball, maybe even hockey, that their overall contribution when you combine their playing and their coaching makes them a significant figure in the history of the game.
It's the $74 against the Celtics. I know that.
Yeah, and in '71 he won a championship. Right. With the Bucks, and he had a run. Of course, he did have a big guy that shot hook shots at times, but he had a run of 56, 66, 63, 60, and 59 wins over a 5-year stretch with the Bucks. All right. Now, here's the thing about Larry Costello as a player. As a player, he had a 13-year career. He was a good, not great player. He was the fastest guy in the league. Okay, number
Really?
one. Number two, in the late 50s and early 60s, he was the fastest guy in the league. Number two, he's generally credited with being a last routinely reliable two-hand set shooter. And that he still had it. That was part of his repertoire. And he took it into the 60s, which very few guys did, but he still was able to. So he's remembered for that amongst the old timers for having a two-hand set. Although the last great two-hand set shot ever in the history was by Sam Jones in Game 7 in 1966. And I can still hear Johnny Most going, "I'm 40 feet away." But anyway, that's something else. Larry, though, as a coach, let me tell you, I was on the kind of the ground, that's when I started covering in 69. And Larry Costello was the first NBA coach who brought NFL intensity and preparation to coaching in the NBA. He was the most noted for preparation and intense. He had the thickest playbook in the league, although everybody kidded that he had the thickest playbook in the league, and the last option on every play was throw it to Kareem. But he also was the first coach to hire an assistant coach, Tom Nisaki. Tom Nisaki was the first full-time assistant coach in the NBA. He was an innovator in a sense. He brought NFL preparation to the NBA. Larry Costello deserves credit for that. He transformed the idea of what a coaching role should be in the NBA, and I don't think enough people realize that. So his overall contribution to the game of basketball was significant. I'm sorry it took so long. He passed away a number of years ago. One of those sad posthumous ones. Now you have the floor on Huggy Bear.
Listen, I mean, he's a lightning rod. He is an absolute lightning rod among fans because obviously of how it ended at Cincinnati and the players he would bring in at Cincinnati, right? Second chance guys, Steve Logan and Kenyon Martin, and probably would have won a title if Kenyon Martin doesn't get hurt.
They're the prohibitive favorites that year.
Yeah, probably would have won one, but went to 2 Final Fours, one at Cincy, one at West Virginia, and that was one too where Deshaun Butler gets hurt. And we remember, it's the image we'll always have to me for Bob Huggins is this tough guy that everybody thinks is an asshole. And Deshaun Butler goes down with a knee injury, and Huggy Bear is kneeling beside him, basically consoling him. Butler's in tears, and you saw the human side. And I've gotten a chance to really know Bob Huggins over the years, and he's a different dude. But man, you will not hear one person, one coach in the industry say a bad word about Bob Huggins on or off the record. Not one, Bob. He is that well liked in the industry.
Even moralistically about the graduation rate at Cincinnati, which was so
doesn't matter.
By his side. I'm just throwing it out there. Now the respect that Bob Huggins has among his peers is incredible. Absolutely incredible. He's for people who don't know, he's a son of a coach. He was a son of a noted high school coach in Ohio, right? And he's back at the alma mater, by the way, for people who don't know, at West Virginia. A solid coaching. He was a great coach from Jump Street in high school and then into college. I will corroborate this. I don't know him, but the one night that I was in his company, I was charmed by, and he was totally different than I expected, as is Frank Martin.
They're similar.
As is Frank Martin.
Group, Andy Kennedy, they get a bad rap. The Andy Kennedy, Bob Huggins, Frank Martin, Brad Underwood, because they're tough as shit.
Yeah.
They hold kids accountable. They're not going to change. They're going to speak their mind. Now, the one thing I'll say with Huggy, I'm glad he got in now, because with NIL coming in, with the transfer portal being what it is, I think Huggins' days are going to be numbered, and his retirement's going to be sped up because the game has changed. And I don't think Huggins is going to have the patience to deal with all this shit.
And of course, he's a fashion trendsetter, so we want to see what he wears this weekend to his enshrinement.
Are you going?
I'm not going this year.
I'm not either.
I'm not going. I don't have a compelling personal reason to go. I usually do. Yeah. The closest thing I would have would be honoring the memory of Larry Costello, who I did know a little bit, and and saluting Ginobili, who I always had this fantasy, not always, but I often thought about how cool it would be to go to his hometown, Bahia Blanca, and see how he grew up.
Very cool.
And how because I just love his game so much, anyway. By the way, did you see who limped off the court in EuroBasket last night? Giannis.
Yeah, Giannis. Not bad.
They said not bad, but didn't limp off the court anyway. Now,
I mean, that's the issue with all these guys playing. Again, Gallinari, we saw it,
of course,
but they want to do it. It's their country. I love the fact that they all do it because the pride they have. Luka, all of them. I mean, they all do it. The best ones.
Okay. So anyway, now back, but I just stated, Huggy is a hell of a coach.
Yeah.
And he's got a discernible style. A Huggins team, a typical Huggins team is going to be on your ass. They are going to be. You're going to have your tongue hanging out at the end of the game, win or lose, because they're going to make you work, right? And
I will say this: so there was one night at the Peach Jam where Huggy and Andy Kennedy and Frank Martin held court outside of a restaurant bar till probably 3 a.m. And I just sat there, Bob. I didn't say a word the entire night. All I did was listen to these stories, most of which I cannot repeat. But it was amazing. I mean, again, honestly, here's what I would say. If I was to write a book, which I want to at some point here when things slow down a little bit more, I want to write a book, and I've tried to find a compelling topic that I would love to do a book with, because you've written books. If you don't have that, you're not going to make it through the book. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I've always been told. Like you better love it, or else you're not going to finish it, or it's going to be a limp to the finish.
I'm blessed that as we speak, I have that circumstance. The book that I have out in bed, what Bill Chuck and I have done on baseball, my score books of 44 years was fun from
you need that.
That's a word that is seldom, if ever, used by authors at any time. The writing process sucks as a rule. I said it's like having a giant term paper hanging over your head every day, but this was different. So I wish you the best that you can find that kind of project.
Well, Huggins would be the guy. I mean, the stories. Think about how easy it would be, honestly, to write it in a way, because he has so many great stories.
I bet.
And even his background, everything, the perception of him. Now he's in the Hall of Fame. Huggins would be, I don't know how well it would sell, but it'd be a hell of a book to write.
All right. So we offer our congratulations to them all. The women, Lindsay Whalen and Teresa Shank-Gretz.
George Carl.
And George, that's why. Oh yeah, George. I'm so happy about George too. I love George Carl. And
will George be the big question is, how much weed will George have smoked when he goes up and delivers his acceptance?
I'm sure he'll be a good boy. I don't know, but
just a couple of gummies to get a little.
I'm happy, but I'm happy for George. George.
Me too.
Yeah. So that's good.
Gentlemen, always a pleasure. Thank you again. Bob, until next time, are you going back to Maine?
I'm going back to Greater Mexico after I have something to do today. I'll be back in Greater Mexico tonight, and I'll be back. I can be turning next Friday to go to.
Well, next week may be tough. Then I'm headed out to Bloomington, Indiana for the huge Indiana Western Kentucky football game for Parents Weekend. Huge game.
The big game.
The Hilltoppers.
My goal is to meet Bob Ryan at Dick's Lunch in my hometown someday.
All right, that'll be great.
And just watch the whole town just go bananas.
All 42 of them?
43. All right. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it, Bob.
See you guys.
Talk to you next week.
This episode of the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast is brought to you by Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase.